Number 8, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. Number 9, to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Number 10, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success, that is Krishna Prema. So once again, welcome to today's call, and thank you so much for joining us. Moving on to our next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. I will let all the devotees on the call to please go ahead with your introductions now.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Arvind Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my Dandavat Pranam to you and all assembled devotees. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. This is Shivani from Ashburn, Virginia. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shivani Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Radhika from Baltimore. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radhika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. All glories to Gurudev. Dandavat Pranam to you. Dandavat Pranam to everybody in the class. This is Hari Dada from Fairfax, Virginia, Washington. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Shri Hari Radha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga and to all the assembled devotees here. This is Megha from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to assembled devotees. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna, Mohini Lakshmi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to the assembled devotees. Yashomati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashomati Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Devatas from Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandarvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Raleigh.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Devidasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shyama Gauri Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karuna Devidasi from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. This is Vallabha from Naperville, Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Sorry,
Krishna
Mataji.
Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. We are extremely fortunate to have His Grace Radhika Vallabha Prabhuji here with us today. Prabhuji would be enlightening us by walking us through Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18 and verse 9. But before we jump into this nectarine class, I would request Raj Prabhuji to share a brief introduction about His Grace Radhika Vallabha Prabhuji. Raj Prabhuji, over to you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji,
Krishna.
Pranam. Pranam to you and all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pranam. Here is a brief introduction for Prabhuji. His Grace Radhika Vallabha Prabhu is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. Prabhuji completed B.Tech and M.Tech from IIT Mumbai in 2001, and then he worked in IT for 2 years. However, his heart got attracted to Krishna consciousness. So since 2003, he has been serving in Brahmachari Ashram of Sri Radha Gopinath Temple. Prabhuji has served in Sikh devotee care and DT department. He has served in the education department since 2013 and does youth preaching and congregation preachings as well. Prabhuji is a teacher of Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav, and he has been teaching in Bhakti Vedanta Vidyapith, CEV Vada, Mumbai. Here's a brief introduction for Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. On to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. All right, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. His Grace Radhika Vallabha Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for giving us your association and time, valuable time this morning. With that, I would like to hand over the call to you. Hare Krishna.
1.5 months. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome all the devotees for this Bhakti Sangha Japa conference group. So today we are going to discuss from the 5th canto, chapter 18, text number 9, from the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj to Narsingadev. स्वस्त्यस्तु विश्वस्य कलप्रसीदताम् ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मितो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजता ददोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहैतुकी. So, word to word translation. Swasti, then just go, Swasti, auspiciousness. Astu, let there be. Vishwasya, of the entire universe. Khalaha, the envious, almost everyone. Prasidatam, let them be pacified. Dhyayantu, let them consider. Bhutani, all the living entities. Shivam, auspiciousness. Mitaha, mutual. Diya, by their intelligence. Manaha, the mind. Cha, and. Badram, calmness. Bhajatat, let it experience. Adokshaje, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the perception of mind, intelligence and senses. Aveshyatam, let it be absorbed. Naha, our. Mati, intelligence. Api, indeed. Ahaituki, without any motive. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. Purport. So the following verse describes a Vaishnava. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Just like a desire tree, a Vaishnava can fulfill all the desires of anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj is a typical Vaishnava. He prays not for himself, but for all living entities, the gentle, the envious, and the mischievous. He always thought of the welfare of the mischievous persons like his father Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj did not ask for anything for himself. Rather, he prayed for the Lord to excuse his demoniac father. And this is the attitude of a Vaishnava, who always thinks of the welfare of the entire universe. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavata Dharma are meant for persons who are completely free of envy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays in this verse, Khala Prasidatam. May all the envious persons be satisfied. The material world is full of envious persons, but if one frees himself of envy, he becomes liberal in his social dealings and can think of others' welfare. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord cleanses his mind of all envy. Manascha Badram Bhajatad Adokshaje. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Narsingadev to sit in our hearts. We should pray, Bahir Narsingho Hridaye Narsingha. Let Lord Narsingadev sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur has given us a very fine purport in this regard. Whenever one offers a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one always requests some benediction from Him. Even pure Nishkama devotees pray for some benediction as instructed by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshashtaka. Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Budau Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. In another prayer, Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhakti Rahetuki Twayi. Life after life, kindly let me have unalloyed love and devotion at your Lordship's lotus feet. When Prahlad Maharaj chants Om Namo Bhagavate Narsimhaya, he prays for a benediction from the Lord, but because he is also an exalted Vaishnava, he wants nothing for his personal sense gratification. The first desire expressed in his prayer is Swastyastu Vishwasya. Let there be good fortune throughout the entire universe. Prahlad Maharaj thus requested the Lord to be merciful to everyone, including his father, a most envious person. According to Chanakya Pandit, there are two kinds of envious living entities. One is a snake and other is the man like Hiranyakashipu, who is by nature envious of everyone, even of his father or son. Hiranyakashipu was envious of his little son Prahlad, but Prahlad Maharaj asked a benediction for the benefit of his father. Hiranyakashipu was very envious of devotees, but Prahlad wished that his father and other demons like him would give up their envious nature by the grace of the Lord and stop harassing the devotees. Kala prasidatam. The difficulty is that the Kala, envious living entity, is rarely pacified. One kind of Kala, the snake, can be pacified simply by mantras or by the action of a particular herb. Mantraushadi Vasha Sarpa Khalakena Nivaryate. An envious person, however, cannot be pacified by any means. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that all envious persons may undergo a change of heart and think of the welfare of others. If the Krishna consciousness movement spreads all over the world, and if by the grace of Krishna everyone accepts it, the thinking of envious person will change. Everyone will think of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays, Shivam Mitodiya. In material activities, everyone is envious of others, but in Krishna consciousness, nobody is envious of anyone else. Everyone thinks of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that everyone's mind may become gentle by being fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. Bhajatad adokshaje. As indicated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayo, and as advised by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana Bhava Madbhakta, one should constantly think of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then one's mind will certainly be cleansed. Materialists always think of sense gratification, but Prahlad Maharaj prays that the Lord's mercy will change their minds and they will stop thinking of sense gratification. If they think of Krishna always, everything will be all right. Some people argue that if everyone thought of Krishna in that way, the whole universe would be vacated because everyone would go back home, back to garden. However, Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur says that this is impossible because the living entities are innumerable. If one set of living entities is actually delivered by the Krishna consciousness movement, another set will fill the universe. Hare Krishna. Is there a lot of noise from the background? Hare Krishna.
Hare
It's been
Krishna.
less now, Prabhuji.
Otherwise, it will take 30 seconds. I will go to the another room, and if there is a lot of disturbance, I'll go to the another room. Then you can let me know. How is the sound? Are you able to hear clearly?
It's better now, Prabhuji. In between, there was a lot of noise from the background. So, but now it's better, Prabhuji.
Okay. In case if there is a lot of sound, you can let me know. It will just take maybe just 20 seconds to go to another room. I'll continue. I'll start anyway. So this is a very profound verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We can see the very deep consciousness of Vaishnava compassion exhibited by Prahlad Maharaj. So sometimes we actually use the word Vaishnava very casually without knowing the gravity of what a Vaishnava is. Vaishnavism or the Vaishnava's consciousness is something like the highest in the evolutionary stage of consciousness. It is a very high refined, very pure consciousness, Vaishnavism, or what a Vaishnava is. And such a pure Vaishnava's consciousness is exhibited by Prahlad Maharaj in this particular verse. So we can see, like Prabhupada has given such an elaborate purport explaining the different aspects of this verse. So I will just go through the different words of this verse and go through Vishnu Chapatipa's purport, and I will speak something related to this theme of Vaishnava compassion, which is what Prahlad Maharaj is exhibiting here. Swastyastu Vishwasya. Swastyastu Vishwasya, that means let there be auspiciousness for the universe. Khala Prasidatam. May the Khala means wicked people. May the wicked people be pleased. Or may they not be angry. Because when they become angry, they actually give trouble to the saintly people. Let them not be angry. Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mitodiya. So Prahlad Maharaj is actually having different. First prayer is that let there be auspiciousness for the universe. Second prayer is that, second desire is that let the envious people not be angry, let them be pleased. And let all living entities, Dhyayantu Bhutani, let all living beings, Dhyayantu, let them meditate, Diya, by their intelligence, on what? Shivam Mito, on cooperation. Let all living entities meditate on cooperation, unity. Manascha Badram Bhajatad Adokshaje. May the mind become free of attachment. Badram. And Bhajatad Adokshaje Aveshyatam no Matirapyahaituki. And may our minds Ahaituki, without any motivation, let our minds be absorbed the Supreme Lord. So these are the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. So first he is desiring auspiciousness for the universe. Swastyastu Vishwasya. So that means he is desiring auspiciousness for the entire universe. That means that includes auspiciousness for even the sinful people within the universe. So even for the sinful people he is desiring. And the devotees of the Lord, they should not be afflicted. Generally, devotees are afflicted with suffering by the envious people. Therefore, he is praying that Khala Prasidatam, let the demons become devoid of anger. But then, even if the devotees are not afflicted, still there can be mutual animosity between general living entities. And when there is animosity between common living entities, there can be no auspiciousness. Therefore, he is saying that let all living entities meditate on cooperation. Let all living entities meditate on auspiciousness. And then, in general, auspiciousness cannot exist as long as a person is having material attachment. Therefore, he is praying that Manascha Badram, let the mind become free of material attachment. Let the mind partake of auspiciousness. Let the mind become free of attachment. And ultimately, without bhakti to the Supreme Lord, the mind cannot become freed of material attachments. So therefore, like the ultimate auspiciousness is bhakti to the Supreme Lord. Without that bhakti, everything is inauspicious. So in real auspicious thing is that which takes us close to Krishna, and the real inauspicious thing is that which takes us away from Krishna. Therefore, he prays that may our minds be absorbed in Krishna without any motivation. Nishkama bhakti, ahaituki bhakti. So then one may think that Prabhupada also highlights this in the purport, that if all the living entities become liberated eventually, then the whole material, all the material universes will become empty. But then the whole universe will become empty. So will that happen like that? One may think like that. But then, so Vaishnava Chakrutipad says that no, actually the living entities are unlimited, and the Jiva Shakti and Maya Shakti are eternal. So therefore, the Jiva Shakti will manifest countless other Jivas for the material world. Even if the entire material universe will become empty, if all the living entities become delivered, but the Jiva Shakti will manifest countless other Jivas. So, in fact, exactly the similar mood of prayer was offered by Vasudev Datta to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vasudev Datta also had the same mood of Prahlad Maharaj. There also almost the same thing comes. So here we see that the deep, profound state of consciousness of a Vaishnava, if we can, like when we see Srimad Bhagavatam, the prayers of the devotees in the Srimad Bhagavatam, like we can't imitate those prayers, but at least if we can develop appreciation for those prayers, that itself is a great success on our part. Like Prithu Maharaj prays that let me have millions of years because I don't want to miss any Krishna Katha which goes on in any part of the universe. Here Prahlad Maharaj is saying that let there be auspiciousness for the entire universe. So therefore, we see right in the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam that the adhikari for the Srimad Bhagavatam, usually for every book in any in the Vedic culture, in any book in the Sanatana Dharma, they will mention who is qualified for the knowledge in the book. Just like in any university, we have an eligibility, there's an entrance test. Similarly, for the knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the qualification mentioned is Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam. So one should be free from envy, or one should be free from selfishness. And this deep, profound state of selflessness is exhibited by Prahlad Maharaj here. So when a person becomes free of envy, one becomes very liberal in one's social dealings. And he can think of the welfare of other people. And Prabhupada explains how there are two kinds of envious people. One is the serpent and another is the envious man. Even the serpent can be pacified, but it's very difficult to pacify a envious man. A serpent can be pacified with the help of a mantra or aushadhi. So he says that if the Krishna consciousness movement spreads all over the world, the envious people, the thinking of the envious people will change. So if you, like any problem in this world, whether it is an environmental problem or a corruption or a crime or a robbery, any problem, the root cause of every problem can be traced to selfishness. And selfishness is born of envy. So the solution for, in one sense, all the problems is selflessness, becoming freed from envy. And so the natural result of Krishna consciousness is that when a person truly becomes Krishna conscious, one becomes free from envy, or one becomes at least free from envy to some degree or other. So that when a person becomes free of envy, then one will think of the welfare of others. So that in that sense, the spreading of Krishna consciousness, in one sense, it is a solution for the different all the problems in this world, because it gives it results in selflessness, and a person becomes broad in one's social dealings, one thinks of the welfare of others. And that Krishna consciousness begins with fixing the mind on Krishna, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayor. So these are the profound points which Prabhupada writes in the purport. So if we see in the Bhagavad Gita, so many places Krishna talks about the quality of envy. Idam tute guhyatama pravakshyam anasuyave, because you are non-envious, having given this knowledge. Yeme matam idam nityam anutishtanti manava shraddhavanto anasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabi. One who has faith in this instruction of mine, one who is free from envy, he will be freed from all the reactions. Shraddhavan anasuyascha shunuyad apyo naraha. One who hears this Gita with faith and without envy, he will attain the supreme planet. And the qualities of the devotees, he says, Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna yevacha. That a devotee, Adveshta sarva bhutana, a devotee is not only, he's not envious of anybody. And the most difficult person to be not envious is actually the person who hates us. So, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, he is not envious of all living entities, including those who hate him. And not only he is not envious, but rather he is a friend of everyone, Maitraha. But not only is a friend of everyone, but Maitra Karuna Yevacha, he is actually compassionate towards them. That means these are all different higher and higher degrees of non-enviousness. One is not hate others, not hate even those who hate us. And even higher than that is to be a friend of him. And even higher than that is to be compassionate towards them, to do something practical, to do something welfare to that person practically. So in one sense, if we see, suppose there's a ticket collector in the, say in the train, somebody comes to actually check your ticket. If you want to know whether this person is a bona fide ticket collector or not, you would ask for the identity card of that person. If the identity card is not there, even if that person is having the dress of a ticket collector, he is not actually a ticket collector. But if the identity card is there, even if the person is not wearing the dress of a ticket collector, he is a is considered to be a ticket collector. So similarly, nonsense, the identity card of a Vaishnava is that he is not envious of others. So if this quality is there, even if the devotee is not having a tilak or kantimala, he is considered to be a Vaishnava. On the other hand, even if a person is having the external dress of a Vaishnava, but if he is envious, then he is truly not a Vaishnava. So in regards to Prahlad Maharaj, there is a beautiful verse. Just one second. Nodvigna chitto vyasaneshu nishpraha shruteshu drishteshu guneshu avastudut dantendriya prana sharira di sada prashanta kamo rahita surosuraha. In this verse, Prabhupada translates very beautifully. He says that although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a family of asuras, he himself was not an asura, but a great devotee of Vishnu. So unlike the other asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. I remember when this verse was going on in the Srimad Bhagavatam class, the Radha Gopinath temple, maybe around 15 years back. So Radhanath Swami Maharaj was giving a class and he made the audience recite this particular sentence many times during the course of the class. Usually, I have never seen Maharaj do the audience repeat the particular sentence again and again. But he made the audience repeat the sentence again and again. Unlike the other asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. So he emphasized that a Vaishnava, the true quality of a Vaishnava is that he is not envious of others. He is not envious of other Vaishnavas. Therefore, this supreme quality of non-enviousness, this is exhibited to the highest degree by Prahlad Maharaj in this particular prayer of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Durvasa Muni was such a great mystic yogi. But what astonished Durvasa Muni, what was that quality in Ambarish Maharaj which astonished Durvasa Muni is the quality of non-enviousness. Aho ananta dasana mahatvam drishta madhyame kritagasopi yadrajan mangalani samihase. He says that today I have actually seen the greatness of the devotees of Lord Vishnu. Because although I committed offense to him, although I tried to hurt him, I tried to kill him, but he is not envious of me. He is only desiring my welfare. He is desiring my auspiciousness. So in the first canto, in the second verse of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada again, he talks about this quality of envy in the relating to the word paramo nirmat sarana. So one of the nature of the material world is that there is a competition in the material world. So material consciousness means that there is a competition everywhere. But the devotees of the Lord, they rise above such competitions. So they do not compete with the materialist because they are on the path back home, back to Godhead. So he says that so such devotees of the Lord, like these verses, devotees means that they are talking about the devotees in the true sense, the pure devotees or purified devotees. So these verses they actually give us the understanding of like what it means to be a Vaishnava. In that way, we can understand what is the goal. What is the goal in the sense that what is the consciousness we are aspiring for, and we can actually examine our present state of mind when we read these verses and purports. So a devotee is not only is not envious of anybody. In that sense, he is free. He does not compete with anybody. So he is not only free from material envy, but he is, on the other hand, he is well-wishers of others. So one is not hating others, to be free of material envy. This is the first degree of non-enviousness. But the second degree of non-enviousness is that being well-wishers of others. You desire the welfare of others. And then the third degree of non-enviousness is that one strives to establish a competition-less society by taking risk. So that means, like, the first degree of non-enviousness is simply not hating, and second degree is desiring welfare for others. But the third degree of non-enviousness is that desire for welfare for others is manifested practically by working hard to establish a competition-less society. So in that way, we can see Prabhupada exhibited this highest degree of non-enviousness because he worked hard to establish a competition-less society. And this quality where Prahlad Maharaj is exhibiting in this particular verse, this is also the second characteristic of Uttam Bhakti. Kleshagni Shubhada. Shubhada is the second characteristic. Shubhadatvam means Shubhani Prinanam Sarva Jagatam Anuraktata Sadguna Sukham Ityadin Akyatan Manishibihi. So Shubhadatvam means there are four types of auspiciousness. Affection for all living entities, and being attractive to all living entities, and possession of good qualities, and happiness. So these are the four aspects of Shubhadatvam. Out of that, the first two aspects of auspiciousness, Shubhada, are actually related to this particular verse. Affection for all living entities and being attractive to all living entities. Especially the first aspect, affection for all living entities. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that let the whole world, let there be auspicious for the entire world, including the envious people. When Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest because his mind was deeply affected by the harsh words spoken by his stepmother. He had only two feelings in his heart: how to take revenge against his stepmother Suruchi, and how to get a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma. But and then Dhruva Maharaj performed intense bhakti, and then he got darshan of the Lord. But after getting darshan of the Lord, after his performance of bhakti, he was completely transformed, and he was completely purified of the envy. Yasya prasanno Bhagavan gunair maitradibir harihi tasmai namanti bhutani nimnam apa ivasvayam. When Dhruva Maharaj returned, even his stepmother Suruchi, she actually gave up her envy and anger towards Dhruva, and she embraced Dhruva. So Maitreya Rishi says that unto a person who has transcendental qualities due to friendly behavior with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities offer honor, just as water automatically flows down by nature. So when a person has developed a friendly relation or a pure devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities offer honor to such a person, just like a water automatically flows down. Like for example, like in a marriage, suppose when a man gets married to a woman, so before the marriage, a man had so many relatives in his life: father, mother, brother, sisters, uncles, aunties, like different, so many relatives, cousin brothers, cousin sisters. But after the marriage, simply by that relationship with that one person, that woman, so many more relatives get added. So when that particular woman gets married to this man, then all the relatives connected to that woman, so they develop a cordial relationship with that particular man. Because they were all related to that particular woman, either in the form of the uncle or brothers or sisters, and they all develop immediately a cordial relation, respectful relationship towards that woman's husband. So we see in the material relationships. But on a spiritual platform, when the living entity develops a friendly relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or pure devotion to the Supreme Lord, then all the living entities offer honor, just as water automatically flows down by nature. And that is what happened in the case of Prahlad, the Dhruva Maharaj. Even his stepmother Suruchi, she became actually pleased with Dhruva, and she gave up her envy towards Dhruva. There is another verse in Padma Puran which says that Yenarchito Haristena Tarpitani Jagantyapi Rajyanti Jantavas Tatra Jangama Stavara Api. He who worships the Lord is pleasing to all living entities, and all the inhabitants of the world, both moving and non-moving, are pleasing to him. So these are all like very, these verses talk about the the profound position of a Vaishnava. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave actually 3 principles: Name Ruchi, Vaishnava Seva, and Jive Daya. And all these 3 principles are actually interconnected. The same love for Krishna, it is exhibited in the form of service to other Vaishnavas. And the same love for Krishna is also manifest in the form of compassion to other living entities. That is why Parikshit Maharaj prays that Punascha Bhuyat Bhagavatyanante Rati Prasangascha Tadashrayeshu Mahatsu Yamyam Upayami Srishtim Maitrastu Sarvatra Namo Dvijebhyaha. Parikshit Maharaj says that if I have to take birth again in this world, let me have Rati for the unlimited Lord, and let me have excellent association with his devotees, and let me have a friendly relationship with all the common living entities. So Parikshit Maharaj is praying for all the 3: relationship with the Supreme Lord, attraction to the Lord, and a friendly relationship with the living with the devotees, the association of the devotees, and compassion to the common living entities. So sometimes a person may have attraction to Krishna, but if that attraction to Krishna is devoid of compassion to common living entities, then it is a superficial attraction. And if the attraction to Krishna is not, if the person who is having so-called attraction to Krishna, if he is not having a service attitude towards other Vaishnavas, then also it is isolated. So therefore, when we talk about dharma and adharma, one aspect of adharma is not having an integral approach in life. Not having an integral approach, it also includes in the platform of bhakti. That means not having integral approach means a person has only attraction to Krishna, but does not have proper attitude towards the devotees, or does not show compassion to others. Or a person may show compassion to the living entities, but he does not serve, he does not have attraction to the Supreme Lord. There are many people who are who do social service, but the social services on the mundane platform, they can even be atheists also. So therefore, there should be an integral approach of Name, Ruchi, Vaishnava Seva and Jivedaya. For example, in the story of King Vena, after King Vena died, the rogues and thieves became prominent, and they started actually giving trouble to the common living entities, common citizens of the kingdom. So once the Brahmanas, who had only earlier killed King Vena by chanting the mantra as a last resort, and they saw that how the rogues are actually troubling the innocent citizens. So they were going to perform their morning sadhana. So at that time they thought that, should we do something to alleviate the suffering of the people, or should we be absorbed in our own sadhana? So at that time they thought, Brahmana samadrik shanto deenanam samupekshakah sravate brahma tasyapi binna bandat payoyata. If a peaceful Brahmana who sees everyone equally but ignores others' suffering, his spiritual power diminishes just like water flowing from a broken pot. So they're saying, like, if you are simply a Brahmana, one of the quality of a Brahmana is supposed to see everyone equally. But but when he's seeing others suffering, but if he simply ignores others suffering, if he tries to take a neutral platform, when innocent people are troubled by some vicious people, if he simply takes a neutral platform, does not try to help the suffering people, then whatever spiritual credits he has accumulated, it will get drained out, just like a water gets drained out in a pot with a hole. So what to speak of the Brahmanas, what to speak of the devotees and the Kshatriyas being obligated to stop suffering. One of the quality of a Kshatriya is that when a Kshatriya sees somebody suffering, his topmost dharma is to remove the suffering of the other person. The word Kshatriya means one who can relieve the suffering of the distressed people. So that is the most important quality for Kshatriya. But not only this quality is important for a Kshatriya, even if a Brahmana who sees everyone equally, if he ignores the suffering, then even his austerity as a Brahmana dissipates. So therefore, sometimes devotees, in the name of transcendence, they try to take a pseudo-transcendental neutral platform. When they see others suffering, they try, when we don't do something to help others, then whatever spiritual credits, that will get drained out. At the same time, sometimes a person can become too much involved in alleviating in removing the material situation of a person suffering, and a person can get distracted, like in the case of Bharat Maharaj, in trying to help the deer, he got distracted from a sadhana. So therefore, the Jivedaya has to be balanced with Vaishnava Seva and Name Ruchi, and our service to the Lord, attraction to the Lord. Even this principle of Vaishnava the compassion also comes in the story of Vritrasur. In the Devatas approached Dadichi Rishi, Lord Vishnu told the Devatas to you approach Dadichi Rishi, and with the bone you ask for the bones of Dadichi Rishi, and with those bones you make a weapon, the Vajra weapon, and with that weapon you can kill Vritrasur. So Devatas approached Dadichi Rishi and asked for Dadichi Rishi to give his bones Essentially, they asked that, please die, please give your life. They are basically giving the bones means basically they are asking that, please die for our sake, please give your bones so that we can use your bones to make this weapon. With that, we can actually kill Vritrasur. So at that time, Dadichi Rishi, he actually appears to he declined the request of Devatas. Dadichi Rishi, he wants to hear about the principles of compassion from the Devatas, and in order to hear the principles of compassion from Devatas, he apparently declines the request. He says that Api Vrindaraka Yuyam Na Janita Sharirina Samstayam Yast Abidroho Dushaghas Chetanapaha. Do you not know that at the time of death there is a severe unbearable pain which takes away the consciousness of all living entities? There is an intense pain at the time of death, and do you want me to go through such intense pain for your sake? Are you not aware of this fact? That is why Kun Kulashekar says that I don't know whether I will be able to remember you at the time of death when there is an intense pain. But right now my mind is in good condition. Therefore, let me die immediately, because right now I can think of your lotus feet. Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaja Panjarantam Adyaiva me Vishatu Manasa Raja Kamsa Prana Prayana Samaye Kapavata Pittai Kantavarodana Vidau Smaranam Putaste. Therefore, let me leave my body now, because I may not be able to remember you at the time of death. So Dadichi Muni is also saying that, do you not know that there is intense pain at the time of death? And then he says, Jiji Vishunam Jivanam Atma Preshta Ihepsitaha Ka Utsaheta Tam Datum Bhikshamanaya Vishnave. The body is dear to all living entities, and the body is to be protected by those desiring to live in this world. Who could tolerate giving this body even to Vishnu if he asked? So here, if we see, Dadichi Muni is speaking apparently the same verse, similar verse spoken by Shukracharya to Bali Maharaj. When Vamanadev asked for charity from Shukracharya, Bali Maharaj prepared to give charity. That time Shukracharya says that this Vamana is Vishnu only, and he is going to take away all your possessions. He is going to cheat you. And if you don't have any possessions, how will you maintain your own body? And then how can you perform dharma? Learned people, they don't appreciate that charity which endangers one's livelihood. So even though this is Vishnu who is asking you, but he is going to take away all your property, therefore don't give this charity because you are going to lose everything. Dadichi Muni is speaking a similar verse. He says that the body is to be protected by those desiring to live in this world. Who could tolerate giving this body even to Vishnu if he asked? Here the Devatas have come on the order of Vishnu only. In one sense, it is the Vishnu's desire that Dadichi Muni should give his body. But Dadichi Muni is actually apparently declining. But Dadichi Muni is speaking these verses, but Dadichi Muni does not mean it. Dadichi Muni wants to give his body, but he is apparently declining the request of the Devatas because he wants to hear the principles of compassion, the principles of paropakara from the Devatas. In the case of Shukracharya, he actually meant that Bali Maharaj should not give charity. Shukracharya internally, he was actually concerned with his own dakshina from Bali Maharaj. If Vamanadev takes away everything from Bali Maharaj would not have anything to give dakshina to me. So here we can see Dadichi Muni and Shukracharya, they both spoke the same words, but the internal thought process of Dadichi Muni is different. Dadichi Muni wanted to hear the principles of compassion from the Devatas. And then the Devatas replied. They said that Kimnutat Dushyajam Brahman Pumsam Bhutanu Kampinam Bhavat Vidanam Makatam Punya Shlokedya Karmana. For pious persons like you, whose activities are praiseworthy, who are compassionate to all people, what is difficult to give up? He's saying that you are such a great sage, Dadichi. You are a pious person. You are compassionate to all. And Punya Shlokedya Karmanam, your activities are praiseworthy. For a person like you, what is difficult to give up? In fact, a similar verse was spoken by, a similar verse comes in the 10th canto, 1st chapter. Kim dussaham nu sadhunam vidusham kim apekshitam kim akaryam kadaryanam dushyajam kim dhritatmanam. So what is painful for saintly persons who strictly adhere to the truth? A person like Vasudev who strictly adheres to the truth, he could even tolerate the pain of seeing his own newborn child getting murdered right in front of his eyes. For a person who has such an integrity, he can tolerate even such a pain. How could there not be independence for pure devotees who know the Supreme Lord as the substance? A person who has such a devotion to the Lord, he can tolerate any amount of suffering for the sake of the service of the Supreme Lord. Just for the sake of bringing Krishna to this world, Vasudev tolerated the pain of giving birth to 6 children, and more than that, seeing their 6 children getting murdered right in front of his eyes. He could tolerate that for the sake of the Supreme Lord. And the same verse says that Kim Akaryam Kadaryanam. What deeds are forbidden for persons of the lowest character? A person like Kamsa, who is having such a lowest character, he can steep to any low level that he can kill even the newborn children. Dushyajam kim dhritatmanam. What cannot be given up for the sake of Lord Krishna by those who have fully surrendered at his lotus feet. So Vasudev, who is fully surrendered to Krishna, what he could not give up, he could even give up, or he could even tolerate the suffering of seeing his children getting murdered. Or he could actually, for the sake of Krishna, he actually compromised in being truthful. Because when the 8th child, Krishna, is born, for the sake of the absolute truth, he gave up the relative truth. He actually did not fulfill his promise to Kamsa. He took Krishna to Vrindavan. So therefore, but Dasharath Maharaj, for the sake of maintaining his relative truth, his promise, he sent the absolute truth to the forest. But Vasudev, for the sake of protecting the absolute truth, he actually compromised with the relative truth of his promise. He did not fulfill his promise to Kamsa. So anyway, coming back to the Dadichi Muni episode, when the Devatas replied like this, Dadichi Muni replied, Nunam Swartha Paro Loko Na Veda Parasankatam. The selfish people, Swartha, they do not know the pain of others. Suppose if the requester, the person who is requesting for certain charity, if he knows the pain of others, then he would not ask charity from the person. The Devatas replied in response, Yadi Veda na yacheta neti naga yadishwara. Devatas replied, if the donor knew others' pain, he would not refuse to give that charity, since he is capable of giving. The Devatas are saying that, are you not aware of the pain we are going through? We are driven away from our kingdom. We have lost our kingdom. We have lost our opulence. We are just wandering because of this Vritrasur. And we are going through intense pain. If you knew our pain, then you would not refuse to give. So Dadichi Muni calls the Devatas as tigers. He's saying that you are not real Devatas because you are like a tiger. A tiger does not understand the pain of the animal which is going to hunt. Therefore, the tiger, because he does not feel the pain, therefore the tiger actually kills the animal. You are also like a tiger because you are not aware of the pain which I will have to go through. Therefore, you are asking for my body. And Devatas call Dadichi Muni as a cow. They are saying that you are not a real sage. Rather, you are filled with lamentation and illusion. You are like a cow. Because cow here, one of the quality of a cow is that cow is having the quality of lamentation and illusion. When the calf support dies, the cow will not allow the body of the calf to be taken away. Like cow, cow is also comparative animal in the bodily conception. Yasyasti, that verse, Swadi Kalatradishu, Natirtha Buddhir, Salilena Kargichit, Sayeva Gokara, that verse comes in the Bhagavatam. So a person, the bodily conception is considered as a cow, and such a person, he is filled with lamentation and illusion. So Devatas are saying that you are also like a cow in the bodily concept. You are lamenting. If you really knew the pain which we are going through, you would not lament for giving your body as a charity. Because you are filled with lamentation and illusion, you are equivalent to a cow. So here we see that, and then when the Devatas replied like that, then Dadichi Muni replied, Dharmam va shrotu kamena yuyam me pratyudakrita yeshava priyam atmanam tyajantam santyajamaham. Actually, just to hear from you about religious principles, I first refuse to offer my body. And I will give up this body which is leaving anyway. He's saying that actually, I don't mind giving my body. Actually, I just wanted to hear from you. So here we see one of the sign of great devotees is not that great devotee, they simply want to speak all the time. One of the sign of great devotees is that sometimes they take greater pleasure in hearing from others also. Sometimes, that's what the Dadichi Muni is saying, that just to hear from you about religious principles, I first refuse to offer my body. I will give up this body which is leaving anyway. So one class Radhanath Maharaj mentioned, if you know that Krishna, if you truly understand in your heart that Krishna is the doer, then it does not matter whether you are speaking about Krishna or whether you have got an opportunity to hear about Krishna. In both situations, one will have the same satisfaction, one will get the same pleasure. Because if a person understands that Krishna is the doer, then when he gets a chance to speak about Krishna, he understands that he is not the doer, Krishna is inspiring him to speak. And when he understands that Krishna is a doer, he does not mind in hearing from others who may be better speakers, because even when he gets ears from others, he understands that, oh, Krishna is actually inspiring, empowering such a devotee to speak nicely, to do these things. So in that sense, in both situations, one will be happy. So Dadichi Muni is saying that just to hear from you about religious principles, I first refuse to offer my body. And then he says that Yodruve Natmana Nata na dharmam na yashap puman iheta bhuta dayaya na shochas tavarai rapi. One who does not endeavor for dharma and fame through his temporary body, by showing compassion to others, is pitied even by the immovable living entities. So one who does not show compassion to others, such a person is pitied even by the immovable living entities. That means like he is pitied even by the stones. So like in the Yaksha Prashna in the Mahabharata, Yaksha is asking a question. What is that object which is without a heart? And Yudhishthira Maharaj answers that a stone is without a heart. And stone in Sanskrit is called as Ashma. So the word Ashma means Ashma. So Shma also means Sharira, body. So Ashma means without the perishable body. Without a perishable body. Or Ashma means without a perishable body means a person who is not affected by the temporary body, he is said to be without the perishable body. One who is not affected by the perishable body means what? One is not affected, one who is without the feelings of material attachment or material dislike, which are ordinary impulses of the heart. He is considered to be Ashma, without a material body, who is not affected by the material emotions. So such a person is said to be a person who is not affected by the material emotions. He is also considered to be Ashma. That means he is considered to be having a with stone. He is considered to be a stone. But similarly, it is also said that when a person is without the spiritual emotion of compassion, when he sees others suffering, but if he does not try to help others, if he is not moved by others suffering, such a person is also considered to be like a stone-like person, or he is pitied even by the immovable living entities, that is the stones. So in that sense, the stone analogy comes in two ways. One who is without material emotions is considered a stone in a positive way. Is like a stone. It means like he's without affect, he's not affected by the material body. And one who is without the spiritual emotion of compassion for suffering people, he is also like a stone, but in a negative way. Hard-hearted person. Like another verse which comes is that Tadashmasaram Hridayam Batedam Yad Grihyamanir Harinama Deyai Na Vikriyetata Yada Vikaro Netre Jalam Gatra Ruheshu Harshaha. This verse says that a person, when a person is chanting the holy names of the Lord, if his heart does not transform on hearing the names of the Lord, then although he may externally show some symptoms of tears or hair standing on end, but if his heart does not get transformed on chanting the holy names of the Lord, he is considered to be having a stone-like heart, or he is considered to be having a steel-framed heart. So here Dadichi Muni says that a person who does not feel suffering for the suffering of, who does not feel compassion for the suffering of others, he is actually pitied even by the immovable living entities. And then he says that Yetavan avyayo dharma punya shlokai rupasitaha yo bhuta shloka harshabhyam atma shochati krishyati. The mind possessing imperishable dharma, which laments others' distress and rejoices at others' joy, is praised by the pious men. Is praised by the pious men. So that is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Atmau pamyena sarvatra. Atmau pamyena sarvatra. He says that Sayogi mayi vartate. Sayogi paramo mataha. One who actually feels for the suffering of others. One who such a person is considered to be the topmost yogi. So if we see Prahlad Maharaj exhibiting the highest quality of compassion, that is why the Niti Shataka talks about 4 kinds of people. The sadhus are the topmost people. They yete satpurushaha parartha gatakaha swartan parityajya. That means they sacrifice their own comfort in order to help others. They are considered to be the topmost people, the sadhus or satpurusha. Samanyastu parartha mudyama brita swartha virodena ye. But the common people, they will help others as long as it does not cause inconvenience to themselves. Or they will help others as long as it will also benefit themselves. So this is the common people. And te ami manusha rakshasaha parahitam swartaya nignantiye. But those who are rakshasas among the men, these people, for the sake of their benefit, they will give trouble to others. They will give trouble to others, like Kamsa and others. But even lower than these people are Yetu gnanti nirartakam parahitam teke na jani make. The 4th class of people, without any reason, they give trouble to others. The 3rd class of people, at least for the sake of their benefit, they give trouble to others. But the 4th class of people, without any reason, like they will not gain any benefit even for themselves. Without any reason, they give trouble to others. So the first class of people, Satpurusha, they are only interested in the welfare of others. And the second class of people, Samanya Purusha, they are interested in their own selfish interest as well as in the interest of other people. And the third class of people, they are only interested in their own selfish interest. And the 4th class of people, the 4th class of people, they are neither interested in their own welfare nor interested in others' welfare. That means like they are causelessly, without any reason, they give trouble to others. They are neither interested in actually their own welfare nor interested in others' welfare. So here Prahlad Maharaj is exhibiting the topmost level of the Satpurusha consciousness because he is praying for everyone's destiny. So lastly, I will conclude with this point. We see this quality of non-enviousness, which is mentioned as the adhikar for a person who wants to enter Srimad Bhagavatam, Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam. So this quality is exhibited both by the hearer as well as the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Parishit Maharaj exhibited this quality of Paramo Nirmatsaranam because Parishit Maharaj did not maintain a grudge towards Shringi, although Shringi cursed him to die within 7 days. In one verse in the 8th canto, Shukdev Goswami addresses Parishit Maharaj by the word Arindama. Arindama means a conqueror, subduer of all the enemies. So here the word Arindama, Shukdev Goswami means that Parishit Maharaj not only conquered the external enemies, but he conquered the internal enemies of lust, anger, and greed. And specifically, Parishit Maharaj conquered the internal enemies because although Shringi cursed him to die within 7 days, but he did not maintain a grudge towards Shringi. So therefore, Parishit Maharaj is fully qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, he could hear with rapt attention because he didn't have the quality of envy. And how this quality of non-enviousness is exhibited, or this made this qualified a person to become a speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we see in the 3rd canto, 8th chapter. In the 3rd canto, 8th chapter, that Maitreya Rishi is saying that once Parashara Rishi, Parashara performed as Parashara's father was eaten by the demons. So at that time, in order to take revenge against the demons, Parashara performed a sacrifice to kill all the demons. And then Vasishtha advised Parashara to stop that sacrifice. So Parashara stopped that sacrifice and the advice of Vasishtha, and he gave up his envy towards the demons. So at that time, Pulastya, who was the father of those Rakshasas, he became pleased with Parashara's behavior and he gave him a blessing. May you become the speaker of the Puranas. May you become the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Parashara Rishi, being blessed by Pulastya, he spoke this Srimad Bhagavatam to me. And then now I am going to speak that Srimad Bhagavatam to you. In this way, Maitreya is telling to Vidura. Therefore, this quality of, when Parashara Rishi exhibited the quality of non-enviousness, by that he got a blessing to become the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, we see that because he gave up that grudge towards Shringi, he could actually completely absorb in the Srimad Bhagavatam with rapt attention. And this quality of non-enviousness is exhibited to the supreme degree by Prahlad Maharaj in the verse which we are discussing today. So to summarize, we discussed today the quality of non-enviousness mentioned the Srimad Bhagavatam, mentioned in the Gita. We discussed the quality of Shubhada. We discussed about the Adichi Muni's example, and we discussed about the principle of Name Ruchi Jive Racha, Jive Daya and Vaishnava Seva. And lastly, we discussed about Parishit Maharaj and Parashara Rishi, how they exhibited this quality of non-enviousness. So I'll stop here. Sorry, I went much beyond time. If anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a very nice class. And you took us through many pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, like Dadichi Muni pastime that comes in 6th canto. And recently we were just hearing this Parashara Muni and Pulasya pastime in 3rd canto, 8th chapter. But when we rehear, and when we rehear, in that context, when things are flowing, it may not capture our attention. But when we hear again, with the right context, right, Prabhu, here we saw that Parashara Muni, because of his Brahmanical qualities, he could self-control himself, right, Prabhu? That's what we see there. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Lot of very wonderful points, and we'll open up for question and answer sessions, Prabhu. So we have a hand raised by Tiffany Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam. Please go ahead with your question, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for such a wonderful class. I really appreciated many of the points you made, especially everything about compassion. This is actually my favorite verse from Bhagavatam. I have it on the wall in my home. And I wanted to ask you, you quoted a verse about the Brahmana that takes a neutral platform. Their spiritual credits will drain out like a cracked pot. What was that verse from? I missed that. I'm sorry, Prabhu.
This is 4th canto, 14th chapter, verse number, I think 41 or something, 40 or 41.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yes, it was a wonderful class. Your classes are always so thorough. You bring points from so many different sources, and it's wonderful to be in class with you. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for accepting.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for the nice answer. Hare Krishna, Kavi Karna Purna Das Prabhu. Please go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Radhika, Vallabha, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your wonderful class. Yeah, Yeah. Based on today's topic, you mentioned about the compassion, and then in your lecture, you mentioned that actually, if we don't have compassion, we are like stones. So I was now relating that to my own situation. It's very practical because somehow or the other we are, there's so many reasons why we are not don't feel like preaching to the world.
Okay, can you just speak a little louder, Prabhu? Just your voice is little,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that in the course of your lecture, you mentioned about compassion. You were talking about compassion, and you specifically mentioned that the body, if we don't have compassion to others, in form of trying to help them by preaching Krishna consciousness, we are like the heart is like a stone. Yes. So my question is that there's so many reasons why devotees don't like to preach. There's so many reasons. Like in our situation here, where you have different religions, you have Christian, you have Islam, then Hare Krishna is coming, and you see that there's so many conversions in the world. This one thinking that my own religion is the best, the other one is thinking my own is the best, and the Krishna consciousness is saying that no, whatever religion you are doing is okay, just be Krishna conscious. And for that reason, you don't feel like preaching to anyone because you think that everybody is in one religion or the other. So what would be the situation of a person like me who is having this kind of conception that there's no need to preach because somebody belongs to somewhere?
There is no need to preach because everyone belongs to some religion or other, like that.
That is it.
Somebody may think that there's no need to preach because already somebody is following Christianity, somebody is following Islam, they are following some religion or other. So is it your question actually? How do we deal with this conception?
Yes, how do we do this conception? How do we have a sincere compassion on how to spread Krishna consciousness in this kind of situation?
So actually, so when we talk about true religion, so one of the principles of true religion is actually focused on non-violence towards other living entities. When we talk about say Christianity or Islam, there is actually, they cannot be, sometimes, we may say sometimes for the sake of this thing, their religions, we may speak about this one, but then when we talk about the basis of these religions, like for example, the basis of every religion is actually the books are the basis of every religion. Just like the foundation of a building is the building's foundation is the structure which is beneath the ground. Similarly, the basis of every religion, the books. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in his conversation with the Chandgazi, he says that your books are filled with mistakes and illusions. And Prabhupada also supports that in his purport. So when the basis of those religions are actually having mistakes and illusions, that means it's a man-made religion. Because if it is really written by God, then there cannot be mistakes. So in one sense, in a true sense of the term religion, we cannot actually call them as religion. The basis of the religion is actually books which are filled with mistakes and illusion. So how can we can't say that somebody is following that those religions. So I don't need to preach because they are already following some religion. No, they are not true religions because the basis is wrong. And even other ways, those who are following, say, suppose some Vedic religion, suppose there will be Indians, who may be certain pious people who may be following different religions. Okay, at least they are within the house of Vedas, But although they are within the house of the Vedas, but they are following, many times they are just following just for the sake of some social formality, or they are just following certain fruitive practices, or they are worshipping some Devatas. They don't have the higher understanding. So therefore, if a person is truly connected with the principles of Bhagavad Dharma, he cannot actually, he cannot not be satisfied when a person is not coming to the principles of devotional service to the Lord. He cannot, unless somebody is a Uttamadhikari platform, he feels that, oh, everybody else is a devotee except me. He can even see, he can see everyone as a devotee. But sometimes if you are acting on a pseudo Uttamadhikari platform without being in that platform, oh, there is no need to preach because people are connected to some religion. So that means we have not understood our real platform. We have, we may be in the Kanishta platform. We have to attempt to come to the Madhyamadhikari platform. And the way to come to Madhyamadhikari platform is by developing Shastric knowledge and also trying to attempt to preach with proper discrimination. So this statement is not valid because these religions, the basis is wrong. And even those who are following the Vedic religion, they are not following the substance of it. So this is what I can share actually. I don't know whether it satisfies you. Want to say anything?
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the answer. But in our situation here, we cannot just go, to the public and tell that their foundation is not strong or is not proper, is not right, and you want to give them Krishna consciousness, which is a strong foundation or is the true religion, as we say. So in that way, they will attack you. Then there will be violence in the society. So
that's correct.
So then, how can we balance the situation like what Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, that everybody is engaged in their karma, and there is no need for one to disturb them. Although Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that devotees are more compassionate, they have strong mind, but still, we can see in the society, when you try to say that your own is superior, there will be imbalance in the society. So how can we balance this imbalance?
Yeah, since definitely your point that when we are interacting with the people, we can't say that, oh, your books are false or something. That will be a big shock, big jolt for them to take. Yeah, when we interact with the people, say from non-Vedic religions, we try to speak about the commonality and then bring them close to the Vedic religions, Krishna consciousness. Like Prabhupada did that. Prabhupada, when he went to, say, Iran, he told that I told them to chant the names of Allah like that. Because especially when you are outside India, the majority of the audience is from other religions. We can't say that your books are false or something. But we can just try to, by speaking about the commonality, and we can bring them close. That is the approach. And then the other point about it is their karma, like that. No, when we talk about the principles of karma, it's not that no, these people are suffering because of their karma. But then we can help a person to transcend their karma by actually giving the path of bhakti. So the whole analysis of karma is not simply to judge a person, but judge a person by seeing their past. Because of their past, they are suffering. So the whole theory of karma is to do something positive to change our own situation. We may be suffering because of our karma, and then okay, now let us do something to positive to improve our own situation. And the same principle for others also. It may be like Bhagavatam says that the difference between the Devatas and the devotees is that Devatas, they give the rewards to their worshippers only according to their karma. But the sadhus or the devotees, they interfere with the living entity's karma, and then they are actually merciful to the living entities because they can interfere with the living entity's karma by somehow engaging them in Krishna's service. So according to the karma of Chitraketu Maharaj, he was not supposed to have a child. Angira Rishi could have just mentioned that, oh, don't you understand that it is your karma not to have a child? But Angira Rishi, he interfered with his karma. Of course, he had the capacity to, by his mystic power, to give a child. But then he said that, okay, this child will not last long. And then interfered with that karma, and in order so that he will become receptive to receive Krishna consciousness. So the devotee's duty is to not simply philosophize that these people are suffering because of their karma, but rather help a person to somehow or engage the person in somehow Krishna bhakti, so that they develop some appreciation for Krishna bhakti, so that will help them to go above their karma, not simply be an armchair philosopher and karma. That's what I can think.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a nice answer about the karma aspect. Hare Krishna. We have one more raised hand, Prabhuji. Gopal Prabhu, can you go, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Very nice class. From the example Prabhuji gave, it's a comment, it's not a question.
Yes.
By showing compassion to others, we could understand now why Lord Shiva is considered topmost Vaishnava, by inflicting pain on himself and taking the suffering for others.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you
Hare,
very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, that Prabhuji, when you were discussing about Ramayana in one of your lectures, you had mentioned about Jambuvan, and you had mentioned that how a person should be, you spoke about two things, person-centric and people-centric. And you even mentioned about abundant mentality and scarcity mentality. So this, when you brought about this desire for welfare to others and work hard to establish competition-less society. So I just remember these two things you had explained to us.
Thank you. Actually, I don't remember this abundant scarcity mentality. But anyway, thank you for sharing.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for the comment. Hare Krishna, Gail Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, a couple questions. I think you had said at one point that the root of envy is selfishness, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain how that is so? How is it that that selfishness gives rise to envy?
Yeah, in the sense, when you have a selfishness means a person has a material aspiration. A person wants to satisfy his body or his ego, like that. So whenever a person has a material aspiration, then you will invariably see somebody in this world who has fulfilled that aspiration better than others.
Okay. Yes.
So at that time, because we have that material aspiration, and when we see somebody who has fulfilled that aspiration better than others, we tend to become envious.
Yes.
So Prabhupada says in one purport, first canto, 5th chapter, Naman yanantasya yashonki taniyat. No. No, there is a verse. Narada Muni's travel. He says that Gam Paryatan Tushta Manas Prudha Vimado Vimatsaraha, like that, the last line comes. This way, Narada Muni, after giving up all the formalities of this world, he started traveling all over the world, completely absorbed in the chanting the holy names of the Lord, free from envy and free from any pride. Vimado Vimatsaraha, like that verse comes. If I count, I think 5th chapter, maybe 6th chapter, I guess, 5th or 6th chapter. In that purport, if you read, Prabhupada says that when a person has a material goal, material aspiration, then they become actually envious of others. But because a pure devotee is actually driven by the desire, something beyond this world, the desire to serve the Lord, desire to go back to God, therefore he is not envious of anybody. Even he may see somebody who has achieved a lot of material opulence, fulfilled something. He is not envious of the other person because he never aspired for that. His aspiration is something beyond the material world.
Yes, very nice, Prabhu. Thank you. Just another question is referring to when you were comparing Dasarat to Vasudev. And so I'm sure, both are pure devotees. So I'm wondering why it is that Dasarat did not also, protect Ram, the way Vasudev protected Krishna.
Yeah, since see, when we see these personalities in the scriptures, we can see from different levels. When we see from a divine perspective,
which perspective? Which
divine perspective? Like the Sanskrit
divine
terms are actually Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika, Adi Daivika. Of course, we use these terms for the 3 types of miseries, but these terms are also used to actually how the different events in the Shastras can be seen on different levels. Just like, for example, your house is there. You can see the house from different angles. A bird side, like a front view of the house, or like I think bird side eye view of the house, or you can see the house from through a drone camera from the top. For example, if you see a cricket match, there is a stump vision camera and there is a drone vision camera. Stump vision camera means when a person is bowling, that particular action of bowling is actually taken from a stump vision camera, which stump vision camera sees that particular scene in a very big way. But the same scene can be seen from a drone vision camera. A drone is there on top of the stadium, and through the drone, the same action is actually caught. And when you see from the drone, the different people in the audience, they look very small. The ball looks very small. It's a simple example. Similarly, the different events in the Shastra, they can be seen from different angles of vision. So when we talk about Dashrath Maharaj, we can see the Dashrath Maharaj act from a divine perspective. We can say that is the Adhyatmika perspective. From the Adhyatmika perspective, ultimately all these characters, they are all eternal associates of the Lord. They are acting according to the will of the Lord. The Lord comes to actually perform certain pastimes. And Lord Ram, one of the main mission is to kill Ravana. And he can't kill Ravana as long as he is there in Ayodhya. He has to leave Ayodhya. So therefore, Lord demonstrates these pastimes. Certain characters, they play the role of mantra, and Dashrath Maharaj sticks to his promise. So from the divine perspective, these characters are acting according to the will of the Lord. But when we see the pastime only from a divine perspective, we cannot learn some practical lessons in our life. We cannot learn practical lessons in our life because all these personalities are acting according to the will of the Lord. But seeing that from the divine perspective is important so that we don't offend these personalities like Dashrath Maharaj, who is the father of Lord Ram. But at the same time, we have to see that from a human perspective, from the Adi Bhautika perspective, so that we can learn some practical lessons which we can apply in our life. So when we see from a Adi Bhautika perspective or a human perspective, what we can learn from the character of Dashrath Maharaj, that just to maintain his personal promise, he actually sent the absolute truth to the forest. He caused inconvenience to the absolute truth. So that is the lesson we can learn from the. Prabhupada mentions this in one of the class by comparing Dashrath with Vasudeva. So by that we can learn this lesson. But when we see only from a human perspective, then we can see that Dashrath Maharaj is also like a material conditioned soul who is attached to different desires and ambitions. One may think like that. And therefore, we have to see that pastime from a divine perspective to see that how these personalities are acting according to the will of the Lord. So divine perspective is like a drone vision camera, you can say. Human perspective is like a stump vision camera. Just some speculated example. But the point is that we can learn these lessons when you see from a human perspective, which we can apply in our life. But definitely these personalities they're acting according to the will of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and just to repeat, you said that Dashrath Maharaj, he was acting from human perspective. I mean, from the human perspective, he was acting by sending Lord Ram away. He was acting according to his self-interest. I actually missed what you said there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, because he was attached to the Queen Kaikeyi. He was attached to the Queen Kaikeyi, and then he somehow wanted to fulfill. If you read the verses in Ramayana, when he goes to that chamber where Kaikeyi was in the morose state, and he says that just to please you, I am ready to do anything. I can release a person who is about to be given a death sentence, or I can make a criminal as a big rich man. He speaks such flowery words, like just to please you, I can do anything. So those words were spoken because of his infatuation towards the Kaikeyi. And then when Kaikeyi asked for those boons, Dashrath Maharaj would have refused actually. But he said, but one of the Raghukula, one of the glory of the kings in Raghukula is that they always maintain their words. But then when we talk about the principle of truthfulness, we should also think that when I'm being truthful, is it resulting in the benefit of the larger society? It's not about simply about my personal vow, but is it going to benefit the larger society? So he, just to maintain his truthfulness out of his attachment to Kaikeyi, he sent Lord Ram away.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is a tangential point, but I mean, his sending Ram away, it seemed like it was more maybe out of maintained truthfulness more than his attachment to Kaikeyi, because, I mean, to send Ram away, like killed him, it killed him inside, So I feel like because it had killed him so much, it although he had been attached to Kaikeyi, but I just question whether that was actually what actually, made him make that decision, rather than, as you said, just maybe to maintain truthfulness.
No, both are there because both are there. Because if you see those words spoken by Darshath Maharaj, we can see his infatuation, you can see his attachment to Kaikeyi. But if he had, he could have just bluntly said, I don't care about this vows, the words I gave to you, and nothing doing, Lord Ram will become the king. He could have just said like that. But then he couldn't even clearly say Lord Ram should go to the forest. But he told Lord Ram that you please convince Kaikeyi that you please convince Kaikeyi that you will not go. He was not ready to say that Lord Ram should go to the forest, and he was not ready to say that no, I am not going to fulfill this promise. So there was a weak-hearted. Dashrath Maharaj was weak-hearted actually.
Yeah, wow! I never realized that. That's amazing. That that his attachment was to that degree. That even though it killed him to do this, but still he was even more attached to not displeasing her. Yes, amazing. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Actually, just one last point I have, just for repetition. You were saying that there's, I know this is a nectar of devotion, but there's 4 types of auspiciousness. One where you're compassionate for others. One is where others are attracted to you, and the other 2 were what?
Other 2 are your devotee develops good qualities. 3rd one, and 4th is he experiences superior spiritual happiness.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a nice question answer session. We don't have any more raised hands, Prabhu. Prabhu, you have some time, Prabhu, for last.
Yeah, okay.
Prabhuji, I was thinking, with such a elaborate discussion on envy, I was thinking if ahankar and envy are kind of same, ahankar and envy, right?
Ahankara is basically about me and mine.
Envy also
that gives rise to envy, actually. That gives rise to envy.
Oh, okay. Because we are thinking about selflessness, right? So, yeah, okay. So that's how we can say they're linked to Prabhu. Me and mine leads to envy. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. So I think nobody has any.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. Yeah, very nice explanation, Prabhuji. Actually, the comparison between Dasaratha and how Vasudeva, there is also explained in the chat. It is also because of the past curses from Shravana Kumara, right? For Dasaratha, it has to happen. The sons have to leave him before his death time. And also the other reason, Kaikeyi takes the names of the ancestors also, the forefathers and others in the dynasty. So all are so truthful and depend on how they are on their promises, how they fulfill and how strongly they are on that. And that then Dasaratha was thinking whether to protect the ancestors' promises or to protect the kids. He is in confusion whether to take this decision for his own son or the already passed away the ancestors and all the dynasty comes in front of him. Right, Prabhuji? That's the only comment I was making. Like everything comes together to make this very wonderful episode, so that we can all learn lessons from our epics. Actually, there was not scriptures also. So very wonderful explanation, Prabhuji. That was also, I was writing the notes down, the difference between, and also the attachment towards Kaikeyi, right? Here it is the Kamsa who took the promises from Vasudeva. They know he's a demon and he's trying to save his own life. So even this demon versus beloved wife is also there.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you for your comments. Thank you.
Hare
Shall we
Krishna,
stop
Prabhu.
here?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you
Hare
very much,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for a wonderful class. And we look forward for your association and again, Prabhu, in future. So we'll offer obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa
Pitanam Pavanebhyo
Hare
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
His Grace Radhika Vallabha Prabhuji ki jai.
Prabhu, amazing
Wonderful
class.
class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the class, Prabhuji.
Thank
Very
you,
nice.
Prabhuji.
Great answers.
Dandavat.
Thank you,
Radhe
dear
Radhe.
devotees.
Radhe
Radhe
Radhe.
Thank you all, dear
Radhe.
devotees. We will join again tomorrow. So see you tomorrow for another Bhagavatam session. We'll end the call
Looking
here. Hare
forward to
Krishna.
it. Hare Krishna.